Hope everyone is doing okay this morning. We're getting off to I guess you can say, early start. I've been doing this all night. I'm a bit tired, but I wanted to get this one out before I leave for today. David Pakman. So, as you guys know, Representative Ilhan was in somewhat of a firestorm. That firestorm was related to a series of tweets that she made that people cast and smeared her as anti-Semitic for those tweets, even though those tweets happen to be indicative of actual reality. David Pakman was one of the people who got onto his platform, looked into the camera, and essentially backed up the people attacking Representative Ilhan in this. So I want to go through Pakman's video on this. I found this to be a certain degree of nonsense. He makes two main arguments, and I don't particularly like either argument. I don't think either argument works. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to let him make his case. The first argument boils down to it's an anti-Semitic trope. Essentially, it is what it is. It's an anti-Semitic trope, and as an anti-Semitic trope, it's something that should be off limits, and it should be something that you don't necessarily touch. I find that one to be a particularly special degree of nonsense. You can't call reality reality because at some point in time it was used as somewhat of an anti-Semitic trope. So I want to explore that one. And the second one, he goes into a technical thing, saying that what she was saying was technically wrong because the person who was the object of it wasn't taking money from any organization, from AIPAC. That one, I think he gets wrong just on the technical details of the sentence structure. So I want to go into that one also. So let's step into this and let's hear David Pakman make his case about why Representative Omar Ilhan was wrong in tweeting reality of the political affairs of lobbies in the United States and the outsized influence that these guys have into political policy. Let's go to him. Let's hear him out.
Her first tweet was a quote of Glenn Greenwald's with the note added saying it's all about the Benjamin's baby. And the tweet from Glenn Greenwald was about Republican leader Kevin McCarthy threatening punishment for Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib over criticisms of Israel. And what Ilhan Omar responded with was, it's all about the Benjamin's baby, meaning that the reason Kevin McCarthy is threatening them is because of money related to Israel. Okay? We'll get to that in a second.
I think he reads this wrong. I could be wrong on this, but I think he reads this wrong, and I'm going to make my case why I think he's reading this wrong. But let's let him keep going.
Many people saw nothing wrong with this, but as we've seen a number of worthy commentators mention, including normal Trump critic Brian Klass, this is a reference to an anti-Semitic trope. When it comes to Israel, it's all about Jewish money from the U.S. in defense of Israel, but that same logic isn't applied to other countries and people of other national origins. When American Muslims are questioned about whether their loyalty is to the U.S. or to their country of family origin, for example, whether it's Pakistan or Saudi Arabia or whatever, we say that's Islamophobic, rightly so. But when the same is said about the influence of American Jewish money on politics, it's Israel, and we're supposed to pretend like these aren't just two sides of the same coin. Now, I'll get to Kevin McCarthy in this in a second, but let's look at the second tweet from Ilhan Omar first. In her second tweet, she quotes someone named Batia Ungar Sargon, I don't know who that is, who said, would love to know who Ilhan Omar thinks is paying American politicians to be pro-Israel, though I think I can guess. Bad form, Congresswoman, that's the second anti-Semitic trope you've tweeted. And Ilhan Omar quoted that tweet and said, AIPAC.
I want to put a pin in that, just so we're very clear on what's taking place. The first tweet, Kevin McCarthy, not Kevin McCarthy, what is the guy's name? Kevin McCarthy. It is Kevin McCarthy, oh Jesus. All right, Kevin McCarthy threatened this punishment for Ilhan, and we can flip over to see it, because I want you to see what I'm looking at. It's all about the Benjamin's baby, And then she turns around and says, who's paying them? AIPAC. Just so we're clear. She's talking about a lobby. She references a lobby. It's all about the Benjamin's baby, talking about money and its influence in our political affairs. In the secondary question of who does she believe is paying them, her second point is AIPAC. A lobby is greasing the wheels in order to get support for a particular interest. It's doing that not because of any level of Jewishness, but because it's a lobby. The entire point of a lobby is the lobby for certain special interests. Whether that's the NRA, whether that's oil and gas, whether that's private prisons, whether that's, pick a litter, Saudi Arabia, whatever you want to add into that from the standpoint of some level of special interest that is trying to influence the affairs of the American political space, they're doing it. Meaning, as a lobby, they're doing it because they have special interests to which they're trying to advocate for. Again, this has nothing to do with Jewishness. This has everything to do with AIPAC being a lobby. And just so we're clear on another point, this is right here. Just so we're clear, AIPAC does spread money around. As a lobby, like the other lobbies, like the healthcare insurance lobbies, and again, oil and gas and whatever, pick up the litter, they spread money around. They find ways to influence political actors by making money available to those political actors. It's called buying influence. 90% of the races that are run in the United States that are won are decided with the most cash. Money is dramatically important in American politics. It has nothing to do with their nationality. It has nothing to do with their religious orientation. It has everything to do with the fact that they are a lobby. They are a lobby, and their goal is to buy influence. It just so happens that the influence in this case is not for, regulations on oil and gas, or not for, more money to Saudi Arabia, or not for more money or avoiding Medicare for all. It's in this very specific case for the interests of Israel. All of them knows it. All of those disingenuous, spineless, sniveling politicians that fell in line in order to attack Omar and what she was saying, all of them knew it. Lobbies, this particular one, have an outside influence in our political affairs. And this particular lobby is spreading money around to buy influence. That should be uncontroversial as an opinion. And just to put a finer point on this, pro-Israel lobby caught on tape boasting that its money influences Washington. Don't take my word for it. Don't take Omar's word for it. Take a look at this right here. This film called The Lobby. David Oakes, founder of Halev, which helps send young people from American Israel Political Affairs Committee annual conference, described to the reporter how AIPAC and his donors organize fundraisers outside the official umbrella of organizations, so the money doesn't show up on disclosures as coming specifically from AIPAC. He describes one group as organizes fundraisers in both Washington and New York. This is the biggest ad hoc political group, definitely the wealthiest in D.C. Oakes added that it is no official name, but it's clearly tied to AIPAC. It's the AIPAC group. It makes a difference. It really, really does. It's the best bang for your buck, and the networking is phenomenal. Oakes and AIPAC did not immediately respond. Without spending money, Oakes argues, the pro-Israel lobby isn't able to enact this agenda. Congressmen and senators don't do anything unless you pressure them. They kick the can down the road unless you pressure them, and the only way you do it with money, he explains. I suppose this guy is anti-Semitic also. What about this one? Right here. Wall Street Journal. AIPAC, pro-Israel lobby, raises more than $100 million a year, which it spends on lobbying politicians for U.S. aid and sending members of Congress to Israel. I suppose that the Wall Street Journal is also being anti-Semitic. What about this one? Thomas Friedman. I sure hope Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu understands that the standing ovation he got in Congress this year was not for his politics. That ovation was bought and paid for by the Israeli lobby. I suppose all of these people are anti-Semitic. Or these people are explaining reality for what reality is in regards to the lobbying effort of AIPAC and its agenda. And by the way, just to put one more final point on this, because I want to nail down the fact that she's talking about a lobby, and this was somewhat of a flat fact of how lobbies operate in Washington. Again, nothing to do with their Jewishness. Has everything to do with the fact that they're a lobby. Here's another part. He's talking about fundraisers where a guy goes into the room. Right here. He describes a fundraiser for Anthony Brown, Democrat running for Congress in Maryland, as typical. So we want the Jewish community to go face to face in a small environment, 50, 30, 40 people, and say, this is what's important to us. We want to make sure that if we give you money, that you're going to enforce the Iran deal. That way, when we need something from him or her, like the Iran deal, they can quickly mobilize and say, we gave you 30 grand. They actually impact, Oaks tells reporter. I mean, come on. Right here. Eric Gallagher, a top official at AIPAC from 2010 to 2015, tells Al Jazeera reporter that AIPAC gets results. Getting $38 billion in security for aid to Israel matters, which is what AIPAC just did. He notes at a secretly recorded lunch. This is not me saying it. This is them saying it. And it's not just them saying it. All of them know it. And I'm sorry, if David Pakman doesn't know this, David Pakman shouldn't be doing videos. Just saying. Let's keep going. Just want to nail it down. That what she's talking about is a lobby. And lobbies do just that. Lobby in order for political influence and get objectives. In this case, AIPAC being Israeli lobby. Let's keep going. I want to let him make his case. Whatever he tells me, however, has to supersede the fact that what she just said here was true. That AIPAC gets results through greasing the wheels and greasing palms. There may be other political objectives, don't get me wrong, but she's not wrong in this kind of shorthand of, yeah, money influences politics. Let's keep going.
The problem here for people who don't get it is the implication that Americans support Israel because of money, period, as opposed to a host of other considerations, which we can debate whether they're worthy or not. The conspiracy that all of this refers to is the idea of Jewish money as a tool for global domination.
She didn't say that. She didn't say any of that. This is stuff that you're adding. This is stuff that you've infused into this. She didn't say any of that. She was talking about a lobby. You've turned this into her talking about Jews and some kind of conspiracy. She's talking about a lobby and a lobby's political influence. She said as much. AIPAC. It's very clear. It's very clear. However, Pakman is reading into this. I want to read to another part. Also, the second part to this. Intention. He's acting as if her intention doesn't matter. Meaning that just because you're saying, yeah, this is, this goes into logic of Jewish conspiracies and this type of stuff to take over the world, so you shouldn't be able to touch this. And it's like, but what if it's true? I mean, in this very specific case, she's not saying all of the stuff that you're saying. She's been very specific. AIPAC is influencing political affairs of political leaders. Yes, that's exactly what's taking place. Her intention in this matters. The only way this argument works for Pakman is if her intention doesn't matter into this process at all. That her intention on this of being specific to lobbies has been turned into Jewish conspiracy. Her intention on this matters, just like the intention of the people who are disingenuously attacking her for this. The person who's in this tweet right here, Kevin McCartney, has been caught sending own anti-Semitic tweets. Pakman himself references the anti-Semitic tweets that McCarthy has sent. You think he apologized? No. Completely disingenuous. Political actors who are out trying to score political points by playing up anti-Semitism. This is anti-Semitic in the same way that Bernie Sanders running against Hillary Clinton was sexist. Meaning it wasn't at all. It wasn't at all. Her intention matters. Just because something was potentially a trope doesn't necessarily mean that people can't touch it if it's true. That is a ridiculous premise. Somebody used this in the past as a trope, but when somebody uses this in an accurate way, you can't put your hands on it. If you can note that the NRA is a lobby, if you can note that the health and gas is a lobby, if you can note that private prisons has a lobby, if you can note all those things have lobbies and all of those bring bread money, then this too, you can also note. This is not off limits to make the point about Just saying. And all of those disingenuous political leaders knew exactly what she was talking about, but they played this up for political effect. And all of them piled on because they thought it was easier to just pile on as opposed to speak up for. The last point that I want to make here has to do with this secondary argument based on sentence structure. This video is going a little bit long, but he makes the case that says, look, even if you disagree with me on this particular point, at the very least, she's attacking Kevin McCarthy here, and Kevin McCarthy here didn't take any money from AIPAC, meaning there was no money that was shoveled in his direction from AIPAC. The problem with this argument here is that this argument is not about just Kevin McCarthy. Look at the sentence structure. GOP leader Kevin McCarthy threatens punishment for Ilhan and Rashid over the criticisms of Israel. It's stunning how much time U.S. political leaders spend defending a foreign nation, even if it means attacking free speech rights of Americans. Okay. Right here. It's stunning how much time U.S. political leaders, with an S, spend defending a foreign nation. This is a reference to multiple political leaders, not just one political leader. The sentence structure in and of itself goes with an S. It's plural. Right here. Would love to know who Ilhan thinks is paying politicians to pro-Israel. Right here. Again, politicians with an S to be pro-Israel. I thought you could guess. Bad form, Congressman. She's not talking about one individual person. David Pakman is making the argument. It's a secondary argument that David Pakman makes, and I think I'm articulating it fairly, that her attacks on him, in this case, are wrong based on the logistics because he individually didn't take any money. I'm saying he gets this wrong. The sentence structure itself is talking about multiple politicians, meaning the political establishment itself, not necessarily just the individual person. The criticisms of Israel, it's stunning how much time U.S. political leaders, again, with an S, here's another one, paying American politicians, again, with an S. It's not an individual. Her attacks is not just on McCarthy, it's on the system itself, meaning lobbyists and their influence in Washington. You get that one wrong also. You get that one wrong also. I gotta be honest, this was a difficult video of Pakman to watch. Because he gets this magnificently wrong. At least I think he does. Let's see. Where is... I saw a chat. So give me 1 second. I understand, as a minority myself, that people can be sensitive to certain things. I don't doubt that in the least. But there's a such thing as people being disingenuous. And people should not be backed up or supported for being disingenuous political hacks or giving disingenuous political attacks. It's one thing if there's a legitimacy behind it. There's another thing when they're doing this to score political points. And let's be honest, it needs, in my perspective, put that Muslim in her place early on. The Democratic Party loves this idea of multiculturalism, but hates the fact that people who are multicultural may have a different perspective of the world. In this very specific case, it is not a anti-Semitic trope to attack a lobby, nor is it an anti-Semitic trope to name the fact that that lobby is spending money for political influence. Nobody's talking about global domination. Nobody's talking about Jews hiding behind some kind of nefarious thing. This is a person who accurately described politics and how politics takes place in Washington. And she was smeared for it. It's sad that Pakman would choose to go the route of backing the people who were smearing her for something that is completely and entirely true. It has nothing to do with the Ming Jews. It has everything to do with being a lobby, and that the point of a lobby is for political influence. Let's see. There are people here. All right, let's see who's here. Give me 1 second. I need to flip this channel a little bit. YouTube has been doing this thing where it's it lags. It doesn't show me everything I need to show. This is similar to Mark Lamont Hill's situation where he says something that's reasonable and they say it's not something. Yeah, it's nonsense. Zane Jamerson, I think he's totally wrong on this. This idea that you can debate, it has nothing to do in this case with the state of Israel, at least not in the sense of anti-Semitism. I mean, people should be able to make their argument. Now, in this case, her making an argument about money and politics get turned into some kind of anti-Semitism thing. This idea that just because, this thought that it's a trope, and because it's a trope, you can't say something even if it's true. Nonsense. That should be given no daylight. If it's something illegitimate, fair enough. But this was a disingenuous political attack. And I'm not for people throwing her under the bus. Moni G, separate religion and state. That's it. Yes, Moni G, I agree with you. United States is a mix of fascist Germany and Japanese divinity BS. Dingo, my baby, it feels like Pakman has been gaslighting. This video was magnificent amount of gaslighting. I mean, he's looking into the camera saying it's a trope, as if that's an argument in and of itself. That's not an argument in and of itself. You can say that something is a trope, but she wasn't using it in those terms. And in fact, even ignoring her intention in this completely and ignoring the disingenuous intention of the political actors that were involved in the process. I fundamentally disagree with the lens to which he's using to look at this particular issue. So, yeah, I disagree with his opinion. And look, Pakman is more than welcome to come onto the show to have a conversation about this. Anytime I bring up something like this, I always invite the individual onto the show where they can talk about it. He's more than welcome to come onto the show. I don't think I said anything off the wall here in regards to any kind of attacks, but I disagree with him. Next thing you would do is max boot and defend Elliot Abrams from her questions. All right, I'm going to end this because I don't have a huge amount of time today. I have an appointment that I must get to today because my wife is taking me out tomorrow. She's taking me out for Valentine's Day. I don't like Valentine's Day. I don't believe in Valentine's Day. Many of these holidays, these cultural traditions, these things aren't real. And I don't like this thought of society trying to force you to take a particular position. Meaning, it's like you can go the easy route and just say, okay, yeah, I'm going to buy flowers and so forth and whatever. But it's not real. None of that stuff is real. I may choose to do Christmas because I like Christmas. I may even choose to some degree to go family for Thanksgiving. But those things are choices. I don't necessarily be forced into this nonsense. But nevertheless, just because I don't believe in it, she does. So she's taking me out tomorrow where she's doing a spa day. So it should be fun. Pakman shares Bernie perspective on BDS. Omar is kicking Bernie's ass all the way back to the Beltway. Yeah, oh, Martin. Oh, T. Martin. You fucker. So great to see you live, Jamal. Always great to see you and my peeps. What's happening, Moni G? It's great to see you too. Alright, I'm going to end this because I didn't necessarily want this video to be all that long, and it took me longer to make my argument. I wanted to nail down the first point because that first point is extraordinarily important to me. It's a lobby. It's like, why are you pretending that a lobby is not a lobby? All under this idea that, hey, because there was a trope out there, when reality fits, you can't use it. And the reality in this case is not the blown up stuff that they're talking about, you know, Jew hide, but it's none of that. It's talking about a lobby. She was specific to saying a lobby, as if AIPAC represents all Jews. It does not. I guarantee you, it does not. It represents the very specific interests of a right-wing government in Israel. Is what it is. Own it. It's not sinister in the least. It's right out in the open. Everybody knows it. But that's with all lobbies. All lobbies. Nothing to do with them being Jews. It's everything to do with them being in a lobby. I suspect if they would have asked Ilhan, she would have said the exact same thing. So I will end this here. You all have a good one. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. Thanks all.